Welcome to the Property Channel, Australia's authority on residential projects and development sites. This show is all about bringing you new and interesting opportunities on up-and-coming developments and residential developments. My name is Peter Chittenden, Managing Director of Colliers International.
And I'm Natalie Larby, National Marketing Manager at Colliers Residential. So Pete, who do we have on our show today?
Well, today we've got Guillaume Volz. He's a National Director with Colliers International in our New South Wales business. Guillaume, welcome.
Good afternoon. Hi.
So today we have 700 George Street that you're going to talk to us about. Could you give us a little bit of an overview, please?
Yeah, 700 George Street, CBD location. Just the fact it's in the CBD is a wonderful opportunity for a developer. It's a roughly 1,200 metre site on the corner of Goulburn and George Street.
Yep.
But being a CBD location, developing the CBD is quite difficult, and getting the approval is a hard task to achieve for developers generally. So this site's got an approval in place, Stage 1 DA, for a 40-storey tower, roughly 14,000 square metres of GFA, with an approval for hotels, 204 hotel rooms and 39 apartments.
Yeah, wow. So it's quite dynamic. It's interesting that southern end of town, it's got its own characteristics. Do you want to just run us through what's happening down there and why you think this is such a significant opportunity?
Well, I was just down there yesterday, and the metro is really coming up now as well.
Yep.
You know, past the cinemas at George Street, the bollard's been taken down, the seats are in. It's really shaping up really nicely. But then you've got the central development, which is coming through as well. Yep. The Atlassian Tower, which everyone knows about, and the Tech Central, which is going to add 25,000 jobs to that southern part of the CBD.
It's interesting times, you know, we've just come out of COVID and we're feeling all these people coming back to the city and retail shops are opening, commercials opening, and now you've got this great development site. You know, how do you feel about, you know, the market coming after this when, you know, now that everyone's reactivated, you know, is it like a long awaited?
No, absolutely. I mean, development's a long cycle. You know, your buildings just don't pop up overnight.
Yep.
You know, you need that time for gestation for the market to recover from its downturn, and we've had that downturn now for 2 years. Yeah. And the sentiment amongst developers that I see every day is extraordinary. You know, in particular for that CBD location. You know, around the site, you know, you've got great amenity around there. You've got Chinatown, you've got the Capitol Theatre, you've got the cinemas, and a lot of lifestyle and just great opportunities for people to have a good life down there.
Yeah, so Central, Haymarket, Chinatown, Eastern Suburbs, back into the financial district. One of the trends you mentioned to me the other day was the amount of what we'll call super premium apartments being sold in the last, say, 12 months or 24 months, never before seen. How do you feel this 700 George Street fits into that equation?
Well, I think it's perfect for the market at the moment because you're right, a lot of development has moved to the fringes of the CBD, either Harbour or on Hyde Park, and that's fine for a certain type of demographic, but I think what's been forgotten in the CBD is that mid-range buyer, you know, some products for the investors, Chinatown as well, and the students when they come back in. So 700 George sits perfectly in that domain where it'll attract all those type of buyers. And you know, having mid-range product when everything else is luxury, it really fills that vacuum that's in the market.
Yeah, a lot of the business leaders are talking about how Sydney, you know, is an international city, and they can't help but feel this next lift as everyone does come back is just going to supercharge it into, you know, the financial city of the Southern Hemisphere, perhaps. But you know, who really knows? So it is quite exciting. You know, what does it mean? How hard is it to get this sort of site, and who should really be looking at this as someone, you know, who's your...
No, it's a great question because the site is approved for hotel and residential at the moment, and that was really a sign of what the developers thought at the time when they put the development approval together. Yeah. But the real value in this approval is in the tower form and the shape. Yeah. Having that envelope locked in a tight constrained market the CBD is. You know, you've got residential to the back, commercial to the side. All the hard work's been done by the owners of this site now in locking in that tower. So you could choose to do the DA that's there at the moment, the hotel and residential apartments, or we think there's some great precedent in the CBD that we've worked on before of a residential tower on its own.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because that was one of my other questions is that, you know, the local councils actually ask us to do less and less parking. And on this particular project, there's not as many parking as others. Yep. Permissible, and it's due to whatever in the ground. So I thought you might explain what is it below the ground and why, and then what does that do to the saleability of the on apartments?
Yep. So underneath the site, there's some tunnels. There's a train easement underneath the site on the southwestern corner.
Okay.
So that limits what, excavating the whole site and digging down. But you can still get a parking down on the site, but you are limited a bit by the easement.
Yeah.
So traditionally, that's probably limited residential development. But as we saw from York and George, and the transition of apartment living, parking is not as necessary as it once was. So we feel you can do a limited parking scheme on there. And still attract people to residential product.
Yeah.
The amenity in the location, there's plenty of transport around, light rail right at the front, and the transition that the Metro is going to have in the CBD takes away that need for parking a lot.
Yeah, and York and George, that was 199 apartments and about 13 cars. So from not even 10%, like nowhere near it. I mean, and it.
Well, no one said we could do it at the time.
No, and it didn't. It showed that you also didn't necessarily need the big water views to live in the city in that engagement. But interstate purchases, do you expect there to be a bit of an appetite? And if there is, how do they connect with information around this site to fast track if they're not ahead of the market as
look, interstate buyers have always struggled with Sydney to some degree because of the value proposition. It is an apartment, it is an expensive city with, you break it down to a unit rate or a GFA rate, it's high.
Yeah.
But we've seen that developers from Melbourne have come up and been successful. We've had Canberra developers coming in. It's just a matter of getting used to the market. And I think fundamentally, you follow the demographics and why people buy it. We've got a very robust sales market up here. That's really what interstate people should look at. So, in terms of inspecting the site, it's a CBD location. Yeah. It's very easy to see where it is. I think the other aspect about the site, which is interesting, is BTR. And certainly our Melbourne colleagues have been very successful with BTR down there.
That's right. I think they've got 70% of the market or something, which is crazy. So you think that there's an opportunity in here?
Absolutely, but the hard part with build to rent in Sydney is that you're competing so much with build to sell. Yeah. And where there's apartments and parking to provide at that price point, like you mentioned, the super luxury, just makes BTR compared to to residential. But this site, and I say for all the people down in Melbourne, that you've got a site in the middle of the CBD, corner location, building envelope locked in. It's one of the most ideal sites I've worked on for BTR.
So final question from me, where are we in the cycle in terms of a new opportunity? Because as you said, you've got the envelope, you're ready to go now. So let's say you go into today's market. Where's the market you foresee in your numbers going,
Look, if you'd use the old property clock, we're probably just passing 6 o'clock,
right.
7 o'clock if you want. So, it's all upside. I mean, I'll go back to one of my earlier comments that the Sydney market's been depleted of supply for a long time now. Yeah. Yeah. And that's just when there's no supply. Planning's very hard to achieve in Sydney, hence the approval's worth a lot of value. It's just the start of the cycle, and that we've had great result with owner occupiers. We haven't even had the offshore come back in where investors participate.
So now what do people do if they're interested? I mean, it sounds pretty good to me.
It does sound very good, and it's not like a site like this comes up very often in the city, does it?
No, it's a very unique opportunity, and with the existing approval and the opportunity to explore some other uses as well. Yeah. Look, we're really excited to be working on it. We love good property, and this is good property.
When does the campaign start?
We start this week, at the end of the week on Friday.
Okay. So how to get first? You watch the Property Channel. You
do. And all of Guy's information will be coming across the screen and into the episode show notes.
Give me a call, I'll have to show you around.
Thanks, Guy. All right, so very quickly, Pete, why and who do you think would be interested in buying this site? Like, why should somebody come and buy this site?
Well, as Guillaume pointed out, there's an absolute undersupply of opportunity in the city for developers to participate. Mm-hmm. The difference between the amount of volume of residential purchases right now in that super premium, which is say defined as 40 to 45,000 a metre and above, is just unprecedented. So that's fundamentally provided a gap in that 30 to 40 range, and this is where this project absolutely slots in. So it sits generally on its own. So any purchaser that acquires this site, straight in, they've got the envelope sorted, and also gives them some dynamic movement around some product type uses. So I'm long on it. I like it a lot, and that end of town is really growing a lot. So it's really worthwhile having a look at.
All right.
So that's the goal of our project, to provide these new opportunities. My name's Peter Chittenden, Managing Director of Colliers International. I look forward to seeing you at the next episode.
And I'm Natalie Larby, National Marketing Manager of Colliers Residential. And if you have a question, submit it below and we'll get back to you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.